If you really wanted to show off in the 1960s or 1970s, you didn't just buy a bed, you bought a circle. Circular beds were the height of swinging style, featured in magazines, Hollywood films, and even the Playboy Mansion. They rotated. They came with mirrored headboards, sometimes even canopies of velvet or fur. For bachelors, it was the ultimate status symbol, modern, decadent, and daring. But in practice, they were impossible to find sheets for. Couples rolled off the edges, and moving one meant calling half the neighborhood for help. By the late 1980s, circular beds were more punchline than luxury. Still, they captured an era of design when the rules of comfort didn't matter nearly as much as making a statement. In the 1960s and 1970s, kitchens were tight on space, so designers came up with a clever, if slightly odd, solution: the retractable kitchen table. It was basically a giant wooden drawer that slid out from beneath the counter or cabinet. Pull it open, unfold a few legs, and suddenly you had a dining table. It looked neat in ads and impressed visitors with its ingenuity. But in practice, it was awkward, wobbly, and never quite stable. Families found themselves banging knees, spilling drinks, and arguing over who got stuck at the corner. Cleaning was a nightmare, and the mechanisms often jammed or broke. Once open-concept kitchens became the norm in the 80s, the retractable table seemed downright silly. Still, it reflected the era's obsession with space-saving gadgets. Homes turned into playgrounds of hidden compartments and clever tricks. The retractable table vanished, but it remains a fascinating footnote in the history of kitchen design. Between the 1950s and 1970s, America had a fascination with lamps shaped like animals, ceramic panthers stretched across coffee tables, flamingos glowing pink, or horses rearing proudly under pleated shades. They were bold, kitschy, and oddly comforting. No teenager's bedroom was complete without at least one glowing ceramic creature. But as design tastes moved toward sleek minimalism in the 1980s, these animal lamps looked tacky, more novelty than decoration. Most ended up in yard sales, thrift shops, or dusty attics. Today, collectors hunt them down as retro treasures, but in their heyday, they lit up suburban homes with both light and personality. Few interior trends screamed 1970s excess, like mirrored ceilings. Bedrooms, lounges, even some dining rooms glittered with reflective tiles overhead. In discos, it added sparkle. In homes, it was supposed to feel glamorous, romantic, or ultra-modern. But reality often fell short. The mirrors collected dust, distorted lighting, and made many people feel uneasy. No one really liked seeing themselves eating breakfast or trying to sleep under a reflection. They also aged terribly, with glue yellowing and tiles sagging. By the 1980s, mirrored ceilings had become a design cliché, and homeowners quietly tore them down. Still, for a strange moment, America really thought ceilings should sparkle like dance floors. If you wanted to impress your neighbors in the 1970s, you didn't buy a new couch. You installed a rock waterfall in your living room. Builders stacked stones in corners, fitted pumps, and let water trickle down into tiny pools. Ferns, colored lights, and even fake fish were sometimes added for effect. It was supposed to feel exotic, a slice of tropical paradise right at home. In reality, most just looked like aquariums gone wrong. They leaked, they grew algae, and the constant dripping drove people mad. Kids dropped toys into them, pets drank from them, and carpets ended up soaked. What started as glamorous soon became impractical. By the 1990s, nearly every indoor waterfall had been torn out, replaced with potted plants or shelving. Still, for a brief time, America truly believed paradise could be piped straight into the living room wall. There was a time when furniture didn't just sit there, it moved. In the 1960s and 1970s, vibrating recliners and motel beds promised relaxation at the push of a button or the drop of a coin. Ads claimed the gentle shaking soothed sore muscles and improved circulation. Some even called them magic fingers. Families chuckled as chairs buzzed and rattled, while teenagers fed motel beds quarters for the novelty. The reality? The vibrations were loud, clunky, and often felt more like an earthquake than a massage. Drinks spilled, teeth chattered, and sometimes the machines jammed mid-buzz. By the 1980s, the gimmick had worn off, and vibrating furniture became a punchline rather than a luxury. But for a quirky slice of history, Americans believed their recliners should come with horsepower. Straight out of science fiction, the egg chair or pod chair landed in the 1960s with a bang. Shaped like a giant fiberglass egg lined with cushions, it cradled you in futuristic privacy. Some even had built-in speakers, letting you sit in a cocoon of music, while the rest of the world disappeared. Designers loved them. Magazines photographed them. Teenagers dreamed of them. But in reality, they were heavy, hard to move, and dominated the room like alien spacecraft. They collected dust in their crevices, overheated in sunlight, and weren't exactly comfortable for long sits. By the 1980s, they were passé, left behind in thrift shops and garages. Yet today, original egg chairs sell for thousands of dollars, beloved as retro art pieces. For a brief moment in time, though, they weren't just furniture. They were the future. The 1970s were not a subtle decade, and wallpaper proved it. Every wall was plastered with enormous flowers, psychedelic swirls, paisleys, or geometric explosions. Bathrooms, bedrooms, even kitchens looked like gardens or kaleidoscopes had detonated indoors. At first, people loved the boldness. It felt alive, expressive, modern. But soon, the prints clashed horribly, peeled at the edges, and made rooms feel smaller. Removing them was torture, layer upon layer of stubborn paste clinging to drywall. Homeowners cursed as they steamed and scraped for days. By the 1990s, most Americans swore they'd never put up wallpaper again. For decades afterward, bare painted walls became the rule. Yet, in its heyday, floral wallpaper wasn't just decoration. It was a statement of personality, shouting from every corner of the house. In the late 1960s, interior design took a wild turn with inflatable furniture. Imagine entire sofas, armchairs, even beds, made of clear or neon-colored vinyl, blown up like pool toys. They looked futuristic, light, and fun, perfect for teenagers and college dorms. But reality deflated quickly. The plastic squeaked, stuck to skin, and often smelled like a beach ball. One sharp object, one cat claw, and the entire chair collapsed in seconds. Air pumps ran constantly, trying to keep furniture from sagging. Parents hated them, but kids loved the novelty. By the mid-1980s, inflatable furniture had nearly vanished, living on only in catalogs and dorm rooms as jokes. Still, for a brief and bizarre chapter, Americans believed the future of comfort could be filled with air. During the 1950s and 1960s, some homeowners decided their house needed a touch of drama, and so they installed full telephone booths indoors. Picture it, a small wooden or glass booth tucked into the hallway or basement, complete with a built-in shelf, folding door, and sometimes even a little light that clicked on when you closed yourself in. It was privacy in an era when one ringing phone served the entire family. Teenagers whispered secrets to boyfriends, dads handled business calls, and everyone else banged on the glass, demanding their turn. It looked stylish at first, like a hotel lobby right in your home. But by the 1970s, as homes expanded and phones multiplied, the booths became unnecessary. They took up space, collected dust, and felt absurd in a modern house. By the 1980s, most were ripped out. Today, they survive only as quirky antiques,